Drafting the unisex short pants pattern, a video demonstration. Getting the essential body measurements for the unisex short pants, ready your complete tools for pattern drafting. The basic pattern illustrates the basic form of the body. Needing the following materials: ruler, pencil and eraser, tape measure, manila paper, and of course your French curve. When you draft a short pants pattern, use the obtained measurements from your model that can be seen on the last column of the provided measurement chart. Ensure that all your measurements were recorded in inches. So let us start. Be sure to fold the manila paper at the center along the crosswise direction. Start plotting the measurements from the last column of your measurement chart at the center fold of the manila paper. Measure 3.5 inches from the top edge of the pattern paper. This will serve as your allowance for your garter facing and easement. Here's the procedure as your guide in drafting the front pattern. Let us start. So from the 3.5 inches that you have measured beforehand, we create point A as our starting point. From point A, we plot all the vertical measurements. So measure your length of shorts, creating point B. From point A, you measure in constant 7 inches to create point C. And from point A again, you measure your crotch measurement, creating point D. Again, be sure that you use the measurements from the last column of your measurement chart. So here, I just provided the body measurements that I use in pattern drafting. The next measurements that you're going to plot are the horizontal measurements. So again, from point A, you measure your waistline measurement. From point C, you measure your hip 1 measurement. From point D, you measure your hip 2 measurement. And from point B, you measure your leg hole or your hem circumference. You can use either your ruler or your tape measure to plot the measurements. After that, it's time for you to connect points E to F, F to G, and G to H. In connecting E to F and G to H, you can use your ruler. In connecting F to G, you can use your French curve. Just be sure to create a smooth curve. So this is how your front pattern should be look like. While in drafting your back pattern, you'll be needing your front pattern. All you need to do is just to measure 2 inches from point G and another 2 inches from point H, creating point I and point J. Be sure to use broken lines to indicate that these points are part of the back pattern. After that, you can start connecting point F to I using your French curve, creating a smooth curve, your point I to J, and your point H to J using your ruler. Remember to connect point F to I to create a smooth curve. Still, use the broken line since it is part of the back pattern. Now it's time for us to transfer the back pattern to the other half of the folded manila paper. Use the carbon paper, a tracing wheel, or just a pencil and trace the broken lines AE, EF, FI, IJ, JH, and HB. Let us see the transferred points or lines to the other half of the paper. As you can see, the transferred back pattern should have points A, E, F, I, J, and B. Of course, don't forget to label them as front and back pattern. You can now erase the points or lines not included in front pattern. So, points A, E, F, G, H, and B are the only points needed or included in front pattern. Now it's time for us to put seam allowances on our final pattern. Along the waistline, along the crotch and the sides, and along the bottom or leg hole circumference. So along the waistline, we have put already 3 1/2 inches seam allowance beforehand. So this allowance includes already the garter casing and the easement. Along the sides and the crotch, put 1 inch allowance. And lastly, along the bottom or leg hole circumference, put 2 inches seam allowance. Be sure to draw a clear big broken lines from the allowances. Repeat the procedure of putting allowances to your back pattern. Again, 3 1/2 inches on the waistline. One inch allowance along the sides and the crotch. And finally, 2 inches seam allowance along the bottom hole or leg hole circumference. After putting seam allowances on our final pattern, it's time for us to cut them. But remember to recheck the measurements before cutting the front and back pattern. You can start cutting the front pattern. Just be sure to follow the shape of it from your allowances. Be sure to do the same procedure to your back pattern. So this will be the final look of our patterns, the front and back pattern. Now it's your turn. Create your own, just be accurate.